Part 1. How a transport video turned into a story about the global economy. You know, I actually had a plan for this weekend. I was finally going to clean my room. At least that was the idea. But before I started, I opened YouTube for just a few minutes, and somehow my entire afternoon disappeared.
That phrase never ends well. Nobody opens YouTube for 5 minutes.
Exactly. And somehow, I ended up watching videos of giant industrial equipment being transported across highways. Massive machines, huge trucks, entire roads being blocked off just to move one thing.
Those videos are strangely addictive. You don't even know why you're watching, but suddenly you're rooting for a truck driver trying to make a tight turn.
That's exactly what happened. And the weird thing is, I think I just enjoy watching people build enormous things. Factories, bridges, power plants, anything that feels bigger than everyday life.
I get that. Sometimes I'll watch construction videos and realize 30 minutes have passed. There's something fascinating about seeing what thousands of people can accomplish together.
Right. It feels like you're looking at human ambition in physical form. Anyway, while I was reading the comments, I kept seeing the same company name over and over again.
Let me guess. ASML?
Yep. At first I had no idea what it was. I honestly thought it might be an airline or a shipping company. Then I looked it up, and somehow 3 hours vanished from my life.
That's how semiconductor research starts. First it's one company, then it's TSMC, then lithography, and suddenly you're reading technical articles at midnight.
That's basically what happened. I started with transportation videos and ended up learning about a company in the Netherlands.
And that company turns out to be one of the most important companies in the entire semiconductor industry.
Honestly, when people talk about important tech companies, I usually think about Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, maybe Google. A Dutch equipment company isn't exactly the first thing that comes to mind.
That's completely normal. Most people hear Netherlands and think about bicycles, canals, windmills, or tulips. They don't usually think about the foundation of the AI industry.
Exactly. Nothing about Dutch machine manufacturer sounds like the center of the semiconductor universe.
And yet that's exactly where ASML sits. Nvidia designs advanced GPUs. TSMC manufactures them. But the machines that allow TSMC to manufacture those chips come from ASML.
So ASML is sitting one layer deeper than the companies everyone talks about.
That's a great way to put it. TSMC needs ASML. Intel needs ASML. Samsung needs ASML. The most advanced chip makers in the world all depend on ASML's technology.
That's already changing how I think about AI. Most news focuses on the visible companies, but there are companies behind the scenes making everything possible. I'm still stuck on the price. Hundreds of millions of dollars for a single machine sounds completely insane.
It does sound insane. And the newest high-end EUV systems are even more expensive. In 2026, ASML continued shipping these next-generation systems as customers prepared future manufacturing nodes.
The semiconductor industry has completely broken my sense of scale. A few years ago, hearing about $1 billion project would have shocked me. Now I hear numbers like this and somehow accept them.
That's probably not a healthy adjustment.
Probably not, but these machines aren't just expensive, they're huge.
Exactly. Hundreds of tons, tens of thousands of components, and extremely difficult to transport. Moving one of these systems is practically a major engineering project by itself.
Which explains why people in those transportation videos kept talking about ASML in the first place.
Exactly. Even getting the machine to the customer is a remarkable achievement.
So what does a machine that expensive actually do?
At its core, it draws incredibly tiny circuits onto silicon wafers using light.
That's still hard for me to picture. When I think of manufacturing, I imagine cutting metal or assembling parts.
Most people do, but semiconductor manufacturing is surprisingly close to advanced photography. You project patterns using light and transfer those patterns onto a wafer.
So it's more like printing than machining.
That's actually a very good way to think about it.
It's funny. We started with transportation videos, and somehow we've ended up talking about physics.
We're still only getting started. The light used in these systems is called EUV, or extreme ultraviolet light. Without it, manufacturing today's most advanced AI chips would be dramatically more difficult.
So even the AI boom eventually leads back to this technology.
Exactly. That's one reason ASML has continued to benefit from strong AI-related demand.
That's kind of amazing. I use ChatGPT almost every day, but I never stopped to think that a machine company in the Netherlands was connected to it.
Once you start seeing those connections, the entire industry looks different.
Meanwhile, my room is still a disaster.
So the cleaning never happened?
Not even a little.
That's what I expected.
Part 2. Why did humanity spend 30 years chasing the same dream? One thing still doesn't make sense to me. If ASML is so important and these machines are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, why doesn't another company just build a competing version?
That's a reasonable question. The interesting thing is that ASML wasn't automatically alone. Other companies tried. The difference is that most of them eventually gave up.
Honestly, I kind of understand why. 30 years is a crazy amount of time to spend chasing something that might never work.
Exactly. Most companies don't have that level of patience. You're investing huge amounts of money, hiring thousands of engineers, and there's no guarantee you'll succeed.
Do you know what's funny? Sometimes I feel proud when I stick to a habit for 3 weeks.
3 weeks is still respectable.
Maybe. But then I hear 30 years, and suddenly I feel a lot less impressive.
Let's not compare ourselves to industrial research projects.
Fair enough. And honestly, the world feels very different now. Social media rewards things that happen instantly. Investors check stock prices every day. Everyone wants results immediately.
That's true.
Then you look at ASML and realize somebody spent decades working on a technology that most people had never even heard of.
And that's one reason it's so difficult to copy. The roots of EUV technology go back to the 1980s. For a long time, many experts weren't even sure it could become commercially viable.
That's the part that amazes me. Today we look at it and think, of course it exists. But for years, people weren't even sure it was possible.
Exactly. There were technical obstacles, financial obstacles, and periods where progress was painfully slow. A lot of companies simply decided the challenge wasn't worth it.
And ASML just kept going.
They kept going. Today, ASML remains the only company capable of mass-producing EUV lithography systems.
That's kind of incredible. 30 years of effort eventually created something nobody else can replicate.
It's a reminder that some technologies aren't won by being faster. They're won by staying committed longer than everyone else.
That sounds motivational, but also exhausting.
Probably both.
Okay, let's talk about nanometers again. Every semiconductor discussion eventually gets here.
It's unavoidable. For reference, a human hair is roughly 70,000 nanometers wide.
Okay,
Advanced semiconductor features are measured in just a few nanometers.
every time I hear numbers like that, semiconductor manufacturing starts sounding less like engineering and more like magic.
And what's even more impressive is the required precision. Tiny errors can ruin an entire manufacturing process.
I don't think I'd survive 5 minutes in that environment.
Why not?
Last week, I spent 10 minutes looking for my phone.
That happens.
I was holding it.
Yeah, nanometer scale manufacturing probably isn't your calling.
Glad we settled that.
The good news is that ASML hires people who are slightly more detail-oriented.
Slightly. So does ASML actually build everything themselves?
Not at all. That's another fascinating part of the story. The machine depends on technologies and components from companies around the world.
Like where?
Germany, Japan, the United States, and many others. Some of the most advanced suppliers in the world contribute critical parts of the system.
That's actually pretty cool. We spend so much time talking about competition, but this sounds more like an international engineering project.
In many ways, it is. Modern semiconductor manufacturing may be one of the most globalized engineering efforts ever created.
The more I learn about chips, the less I believe in the idea of one genius changing the world alone.
Most breakthroughs at this scale are built by thousands of people working together over decades. One of the most famous examples is the mirror system used inside EUV machines.
A mirror is the important part? That's not what I expected.
Not just a mirror, one of the most precise optical systems ever created. EUV light can't be handled by ordinary optics, so specialized mirrors are used to guide and focus the light.
And I'm guessing these aren't the kind of mirrors you buy at a furniture store.
Definitely not. A common comparison is that if one of these mirrors were expanded to the size of Earth, the imperfections would only be a few millimeters.
Every time I think semiconductor engineering can't get any crazier, someone says something like that.
That's usually the correct reaction.
It's funny. We started with transportation videos, and now we're talking about mirrors with planetary scale precision.
And somehow, the story is about to get even bigger.
That sounds dangerous.
Next, we're going from engineering to geopolitics.
So we're adding global politics to the list now.
Exactly.
Part 3. Why does a Dutch machine maker end up in global headlines? There's still one thing I don't fully understand. We started with a machine manufacturer, but now we're talking about countries, governments, and global politics. How did that happen?
That's what makes ASML so unusual. It's technically an equipment company, but its technology sits at the center of modern semiconductor production.
I guess 10 years ago, I never would have expected companies like NVIDIA, TSMC, or ASML to show up in mainstream news.
Neither would most people. Back then, semiconductor companies were mostly invisible to the general public.
Now, I open a news app and see headlines about AI chips, export controls, data centers, and advanced manufacturing.
The industry moved from being a niche engineering topic to something tied directly to economic growth, national security, and technological leadership.
Which sounds like a polite way of saying the stakes became enormous.
That's exactly what happened. The reason governments care so much is simple. If you can't manufacture advanced chips, you're at a disadvantage in AI, supercomputing, defense technology, and many other fields.
So we're not just talking about smartphones anymore.
Not even close. Advanced semiconductors affect everything from cloud computing to military systems. That's why governments pay close attention to the companies that make them possible.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. A machine sitting inside a factory can influence global politics.
And that's why export restrictions became such a major issue. the United States continues to support restrictions on the export of the most advanced lithography systems to China.
Which means ASML isn't just selling equipment anymore. Every sale can become an international story.
Exactly.
Most companies worry about quarterly earnings. ASML sometimes ends up in discussions involving national strategy.
That's a very different level of visibility.
And China obviously wants access to that technology.
Of course, every major economy wants stronger semiconductor capabilities. AI demand is only making that competition more intense.
What's interesting is that when people talk about the AI race, they usually focus on chatbots or GPUs.
But underneath all of that is manufacturing capability.
It's like everyone talks about race cars, but the real story is the factory building the engines.
That's actually a pretty good analogy. ASML has repeatedly stated that AI remains one of the major drivers of long-term demand, even as geopolitical tensions continue to shape the industry.
The deeper we go into this industry, the more everything seems connected.
That's one of the reasons it's so fascinating.
You know what's funny? A year ago, if someone mentioned AI, I immediately thought of ChatGPT.
That's a common reaction.
Then I learned about NVIDIA and thought, okay, GPUs are the key.
A lot of people stop there.
But now, it feels like every answer creates another question. Who makes the chips? Who builds the factories? Who builds the machines inside the factories?
Exactly. The deeper you go, the more layers you discover.
It's almost like one of those rabbit holes on YouTube, where every recommended video sends you somewhere unexpected.
Which is how this entire story started.
That's true. I was supposed to be cleaning my room.
And instead, you ended up studying semiconductor supply chains.
Not my most productive weekend.
I think you've learned enough to justify it. The important thing to understand is that AI doesn't exist in isolation. NVIDIA designs GPUs, TSMC manufactures them, ASML provides the lithography systems that make advanced manufacturing possible.
So when people talk about AI, they're really talking about an entire ecosystem.
Exactly.
And the surprising thing is that one of the most important companies in that ecosystem is based in the Netherlands.
A country most people wouldn't immediately associate with semiconductor dominance.
Honestly, when I first saw the name ASML, I thought it was just another company I'd forget by the next day.
And now?
Now I feel like I can't read an AI headline without wondering what's happening further down the chain.
That's a good sign.
So where does the story go from here?
Next, we talk about the future, because ASML isn't focused on today's technology anymore.
Of course not.
They're already preparing for the next generation.
That sounds slightly intimidating.
It probably should.
Part 4. What is being built today for the AI of 10 years from now? You know what's been feeling strange lately? When I first tried ChatGPT, it honestly felt like science fiction. Now I use it almost every day without even thinking about it.
I know exactly what you mean. At first it felt revolutionary. Now it's just another tool people use for work, research, coding, and everyday questions.
It's kind of like smartphones. I still remember the first time I used one. It felt incredible. Now if I leave my phone at home for 10 minutes, I feel like I've lost a limb.
That's what happens when technology becomes part of daily life. Once people get used to it, they stop noticing how extraordinary it actually is.
Which makes me wonder, if we think today's AI is amazing, what will people think 10 years from now?
That's a good question, and companies like ASML are asking the same thing. They're already building the tools needed for future generations of AI. In 2026, chips produced using high-NA EUV systems began appearing in early customer testing and development programs.
So, this isn't some distant future concept anymore.
Not at all. The next chapter is already beginning. When you look back at today's story, it's actually kind of funny. We started with a transportation video and somehow ended up at the center of the global AI industry.
That's true. First it was giant trucks, then semiconductors, then AI, then geopolitics. This story went a lot further than I expected.
And along the way, we discovered something important. NVIDIA wasn't the whole story. TSMC wasn't the whole story either.
There was always another layer underneath.
Exactly. And at the deepest layer, we found ASML.
The company most people have never heard of, even though the world's leading chip makers depend on it. You know what I think I'll remember most from today's discussion?
What's that?
The idea that technology doesn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. The AI boom feels new, but behind it are decades of research, thousands of engineers, and companies preparing for the future long before the rest of us notice.
That's probably the biggest lesson from ASML's story.
Also, I kind of want to visit the Netherlands now.
Because of semiconductors?
Half because of semiconductors, half because it looks nice.
At least you're honest.
Imagine explaining that trip to someone. Why are you visiting the Netherlands? Well, I wanted to see the country that helped build the AI era.
That's a very specific vacation plan.
The bigger problem is that I'd probably spend the entire trip looking for ASML-related landmarks.
Most tourists look for museums or famous buildings.
And somehow, I'd end up searching for semiconductor history.
That sounds completely believable.
Honestly, after today's discussion, I don't think I'll ever look at an AI headline the same way again.
That's exactly what I hoped you'd say.
Next time I see NVIDIA in the news, I'll probably wonder what's happening further down the supply chain.
And that's the real value of understanding ASML.
Well, before I start researching another semiconductor company, I should probably go clean my room.
Now we're back where the story started.
Some things never change.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for watching today's video. See you next time.